Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing okay. Market is up, down, certain things are moving around, but let's jump into the weekly Q&A where I answer your top questions. And they get harder and harder and harder and smarter every week, which is kind of a challenge. So some of this might be controversial, but when I'm posed a question, I'll say what I feel. So if you don't want to hear any controversial answers, you can exit right now. So let's jump in. Math, money, and freedom. And this is edutainment, of course, not financial advice. So the first question of the day is from Felipe. Do you consider the fact that 75% of MATIC is held by a few whales somewhat of a red flag? Yes, I do. Always do. And remember, every chain has its kind of Achilles heel, its own weakness. But this prompted me to dig a little bit deeper. So yes, for those who don't know, this is what the MATIC whales actually look like. You can see here, 12 have about 77% of the actual location, and the dark green are highly active addresses. Light green, low activity. So you see the big one there, 25% of it is highly active. Well, that means they could be manipulating the price. I do like MATIC because of the fact that it's everywhere, but I have layered out for the first time. In my exit video, I sold some of my MATIC at about 275. In full disclosure, I have 80% of it left, and it's not a big position in my whole bag. So that is regarding MATIC. But let's dig deeper and see how it compares to whale ownership across other names. This was interesting, even for me. And I'm very familiar, but I never actually dug deep into them all. So this is when you look at top whale concentration of assets. And I only looked at tokens with greater than 1 billion in market cap. So the big standouts at the very top of the list, huge concentration, is BSV. This is the fake fork of Bitcoin. And it's called Bitcoin Strategic Vision. And it's literally huge whale concentration off the charts. So the answer is, when you see things like that, no, it's not good. Up there as well, a couple of other names, some of the tokens from Huobi and KuCoin, obviously very heavily concentrated. But CRO is up there too. A lot of people asked me to look at CRO. I didn't. I walked away. Binance is in there. The Sandbox, again, as I told you all, the metaverse tokens, games, they have the crummiest tokenomics and the most concentration of ownership. So Sandbox, 84% is owned by whales, which is massive. Axie, 80%. So this was kind of helpful from that perspective. Now all these names, AMP, Axie, NEXO, Curve, Sandbox, Binance, CRO, BSV, were all above MATIC. The gray arrow on the chart there symbolizes where MATIC lies. And this is the stat ranking all the way down to Loopring, which is at 53%. I didn't go deeper than that. There was too many. And it becomes much more fairly dispersed. But the names beneath MATIC were kind of interesting. Shiba, who's like a crappy meme coin, has less whale concentration than Polygon. That is a red flag. CHILIZ was there. The Graph was there. Aave, Compound, Gala, another gamer, metaverse game platform. Fantom, 1inch, Loopring. So yes, you're dead right, Felipe. It is a red flag. It is a little alarming. And for perspective, just so you guys understand, Bitcoin whale concentration is 1%. And that shows you how dispersed Bitcoin is. Ethereum, as a comparison to Bitcoin, is 22%. So again, a super interesting analysis. And yes, it is a red flag. But everybody, just so you know, I invest in certain names because of speculation. I invest in other names for long-term holds. I don't speculate on things like Tesla, Google, Bitcoin. I hold those assets. Other ones I speculate in. So you're dead right. It is a red flag for MATIC. And let's jump on a little bit deeper. Now this, somehow the questions come in and they really reflect what people are thinking during that given week. Everybody's looking at Fantom exploding in the charts and it's like, ooh. So this question is from Iwaragon. Hope I got that right. What advantages does Fantom have over MATIC and Solana? Complex question. Again, there's no easy ones anymore. So first of all, they're not really comparable. They're really different. For example, MATIC is a layer 2. We just covered that. And Solana is a layer 1. Obviously, MATIC helps Ethereum scale. The question is, what does Fantom do? And the question is, what are the advantages? So instead of tackling what advantages Fantom has. I'm going to tackle its strengths and weaknesses and show how it compares. So I hope that's okay with you. First of all, the advantages of Fantom. And I have a Should I Buy Fantom video as well. Check that out if you want a deep dive into Fantom. So speed is up to 10,000 transactions per second. Yeah, it's rocket fast. Fees, 0.0001. Super cheap. The confirmations is a little bit controversial here. The Fantom confirmations, they boast 1 second confirmations. And that's versus 0.4 of a second with Solana as a comparison as well. Solana has one of the fastest confirmations, but it's a little bit faster. But I'll talk more about confirmations in a second on the next slide. Inflation is 13%, which is good. And Alameda Research, the venture fund, is behind them as well, which is another plus. Now, there are some concerns, okay? These are my concerns. One, we just covered it, high whale concentration. 55% of Fantom tokens are owned by whales. They also have some gaps in their ecosystem. If you saw my video yesterday, you would have seen that the detailed analysis of all the top DeFi players and how they work across all the different categories that you need to have. Third, a very low number of validators compared to other chains. I think they have 50 compared to 3,000 or so with some of the ones we like. Now, also, confirmation is very slow on the DeFi platform. It takes more than 5 minutes. So that boasting 1 second, questionable. Again, maybe they fixed that, but last time I checked, that's what it was. And it is an EVM compatible platform. So it does hinge on a lot of what Ethereum does to some extent using that same EVM technology. So there are my concerns. But let's look at kind of a very simple view of the world. And I like things to be stratified very simply as to how I play. You're your own investor, you do your own research, you can do whatever you want. But a simple way to view the world is this. So this is per Helmut Capital, and it's a great illustration. So as I always say, Ethereum is the dominant 800-pound gorilla. No ifs, ands, or buts. Everything runs off Ethereum. But other players are chipping away. So when you look at the USP, which is unique selling proposition, plus team, plus technology, plus community, Luna and Solana win the day. I will debate anybody wherever they are, but that is the simple truth. Those 4 characteristics are key to valuing. And if you look at all my Should I Buy, it has 10 points, but these are the 4 that really stand out for these 2 chains. The next 2 are Avalanche and Fantom. Now they stand out because of incentives and momentum. Very, very important. Crypto is all about momentum. You got to follow the heat. Where all the flies go, you got to be. And that's part of what we'll talk later about when we talk about swing trading as well. And then under threat, you could argue that Polygon could be under threat, not only from, it's amazing how the whale concentration all feeds in and supports this narrative to some extent, and Binance Smart Chain, because it's so centralized. And then you have the wild cards, Polkadot and Cardano. Both had sucky years over the last 12 months. Cardano did move a little bit today, which is great. I hope it gets to $3 quick. That would be nice. And that is kind of the world as I see it. But remember, Fantom has incentives that drive momentum. For example, loan to value. That's why the LTV is exploding. You got to look behind the curtain to find out exactly what's going on. So that is my simple view of the universe. And remember, keep your tap dance shoes on because everything changes all the time. Great question. Tough one. All right, next question. This one is from Reese. What insight or advice would you offer someone trading pairs such as Bitcoin, Luna, Bitcoin Sol to grow their digital asset holding? Great question, complex situation. Remember, if you're in a very low tax environment, you can do this all day long. If not, be careful. So trading swing pairs means, first of all, you need to find assets that are correlated but uncorrelated and make sure you find the right end of that correlation. So for example, here, you will look at the graphic on the left are assets that are kind of correlated and ones that are uncorrelated on the right. This is where you need to play. Those that are uncorrelated, very, very, very important. So next question. When you compare Bitcoin to these assets, there's not really a correlation that you can use to trade. So what I like to do is I like to find things that are kind of related, but not correlated. So this one is a trading pair that I like, that's Ethereum to Luna. And you can see the Ethereum line at the bottom. And the orange line is the Luna. And you can see when Ethereum is flat, Luna skyrockets. It's as if Luna becomes the black hole that sucks everything in. But beyond just this, you can take this to identify, okay, when is Luna hot versus when is Ethereum not, and vice versa. And then you use TA indicators to determine whether they're overbought or oversold. And if you can find the match when, for example, Luna's overbought and Ethereum is oversold, that is your heaven. That's what you want to get at. Now, when you do this with other things like currency pairs or whatever, it requires a lot more science. Same thing with crypto, but there's a whole bunch of pair trading models. There's the Engel, Granger, Dickey, Fuller, and Phillips pair-on tests that you can do, but they're way out of the scope of this Q&A, but that is the simple way to do it. And yes, get your TA down, understand the macro behind the crypto of these assets, understand the money flows, understand the on-chain analytics, and you can do it. But what's your taxes? That is trading pairs. So next question from Not Financial Advice. Ooh, this could be a hard one. So what other ways of forming passive income are there in investing other than staking? It seems staking is like dividends for stocks on steroids. Yes, you're kind of right. So I'm going to tackle this with one example because I do a lot of staking on one particular crypto, and there are other ways to drive very good passive income. One of my favorite ways, of course, would be real estate rental units. That is very good, but you need to be able to get them cheap, make them cash flow fast, layer in added values, and have them in very growing cities. With or without rent control, you can make them work either way. But that is a great way for passive income. The other way, I'm going to jump into an example here. And remember, sometimes don't get too enthralled by a 20% or 100% APY, because your underlying asset is key. You want to have an underlying asset that's going up in value over time and pays a good APY, like 6%, like 8%, 10% even in some cases. But as soon as you start going 20%, 50%, 100%, you start controlling the incentives, and they pay you by pulling, crypto out of their kitty. So it's all fake. Overall, over time, you get price suppression. So you want a low inflation crypto with a good staking rate. Okay, simple section. So what I have here is talking about your staking on steroids, an actual example of what you could do. So this example, it happens to use Solana, because I believe Solana has good, gentle upside considering all of their adoption and everything else. And not just me, but many other analysts as well. If you start with just 300 Solana, okay, the cost today is $45,000, or a little bit less actually. And your staking reward annualized is about 6.09%. These are the assumptions I use for this model. Currently, Everstake is paying 6.16% annualized. Now, the price goes up on average, I believe, per my price prediction models, made linear, that'll be about 8.5% per month. And that would take us to a price of maybe $450 per Solana by Feb 2023, or maybe a lot earlier. We'll see how it goes this year. And a lot of it has to do with where the crypto market goes. But I think we're so early in adoption, I think it's still going to explode. Now, that would bring us to a price of about $460 in Feb 2023, and a price of about $826 in Feb 2024. But the key thing to see here is you put down 45,000, right? And to get back to your question, there's a bit of a long-winded answer. Your token balance will grow by about 1.5 Sol every month. And as the value of Sol goes up, everything gets compounded twice. And especially because your staking rewards get paid with great frequency. So here, 300 Solana very quickly becomes 340. And the value goes up over time, and that compounds. So your $45,000 investment is worth $147,000 in a year, and maybe $281 in 2 years. Obviously, the price slope goes down after Feb 2023, just to be very, very conservative. But your return on investment, this is the key part. You will 227% ROI on your money, which would be 3.2x your money. And after 2 years, it'll be 524% ROI, which is about 6.2x your money. And if you do pull your Solana out for your passive income, 300 Solana, $45,000 investment can easily yield you $1,000 a month. But don't pull it out too soon, too early. And that's kind of a simple way to think about what you could do with staking on steroids. There's not many places where you can invest 45,000 and generate 1,000 a month over time. So good question, and thank you for that. Now, an illustration of what it would look like graphically. Here is your initial $45,000 investment that I mapped with the red arrow signifying that. And you start with your 300 tokens, and it'll grow over time to up to $300,000 within 2 years. So that's just a simple graphical illustration to show you how it kind of gradually goes more parabolic over time. So that is exactly what you say. So that's an example. That in real estate would be some of the 2 best interest rates. But make sure you pick an asset that will go up over time, because if you're getting 6 or 10% on an asset that's going down or staying flat, it's not a good thing. Okay, so next question. From Anonymous. Most people don't have time to watch markets all day. I know you don't like index funds, but aren't they a good solution for these people? Yes, they are. So index funds at their best offer a very low-cost way for investors to track popular indexes like the S&P 500, which did very well last year and typically does well. But let's dig in. And if you have no other way, the S&P 500 is a very good place to go. Maybe even the QQQ index as well. And it also is a very low fee way to go as well as you go forward. But let's look at some performance numbers. So I don't have the full data set for 2021, but for 2020, 60% of actively managed stock funds underperformed the S&P 500. So yes, index fund, crush it. But even more startling, when they start sprinkling in bonds into their funds, 90% failed to reach or beat the S&P 500, which is kind of staggering. But there's more. This is kind of the way I do it. If you look at a fund, find the best funds, extract the best assets, and own them in the pure form if you can. Own your Teslas and your Googles and things like that, and then you'll far do better than the S&P 500. So the other thing as well, there's another secret. I did hint at this. I got a little bit of flack for calling out Nancy Pelosi for earning a $200,000 salary and being worth $500 million. That's like earning and cashing in $200,000 a year for 2,500 years to get to $500 million. That shows you how big $500 million is. But in proof of that, she was only 5th best from US members of Congress for insider trading. The top 3 were Austin Scott. Big round of applause, everybody. He crushed it with his results. Number 2 is a guy called Brian Mast, and number 3 is Fred Hill. So the other key result of the analysis here, the blue represents the Democrats, and the red represents the Republicans, and the independents aren't there anywhere to be seen. But the Republicans crush the Democrats with insider trading. So it's just data. I don't want to get political here, but well done, Nancy. You only came in 5th place, but you do a really good job, though. So if you get the idea and you can see exactly what these insiders are actually trading, follow these top 3 or even the top 5. You know, when they go in hard into NVIDIA, things like that, they know something is up. So that's another way to play. Okay, next question from the Enlightened Thinker. What would happen to Bitcoin price if Satoshi's wallet was activated or even the entire contents was dumped onto the market? So this is a question I've been asking myself for 5 years now. Always, it used to nag at me at the back of my mind, but the more time goes on, the more Lindy effect we have, and the less probable it becomes. But let's dig into it and what the actual math looks like, according to me. And nobody will actually put numbers on it, but I will. So he has 1.0, or she, or the team, they have 1.04 million Bitcoin. That's 5% of total supply, approximately. Now, if they were to hit the market all at once, the exchange supply would go from a 2.3 million to 3.3 million. And that is basically a 35-40% increase in supply. No doubt the markets would be rattled. I believe the increased supply would not be absorbed immediately, and that would bring down a cascading price. And I think the Bitcoin price would fall between 20 to 40%, depending on the price and market conditions at the current time and the situation behind how these coins are released. But I do believe price would rebound in time. So it wouldn't be catastrophic, but it would definitely take the market down a big chunk. So if we're at, say, 40K now, it could easily go to 26,000. with that type of hit. But it would not be the end of crypto, especially if Satoshi and the team came out and said, well, this is us, this is what we did. We're going to take this off the market. We're going to give half to charity, which is the nature of the people behind this in the first place. They're kind of modern day philanthropists. So I don't believe it would be crushed, and therefore it's not a concern. But as I always say, there's always a 1% chance that the chain could go out. It's actually 0.4% chance right now. But again, don't stay awake at night thinking about that. It is a very, very far-fetched concern. Okay, next question is from Simon W. So this is from Simon. As I can't use my hands, I can't use apps on my phone, I can't access text messages, but I use my computer using eye gaze technology. Can I use any good decentralized exchange via my PC? So Simon, I want to make sure we haven't forgotten about you. We have started digging into this, and for people that know, we want to bring more people to the space, no matter what it takes. We don't have an answer yet, but we're working on it. I promise you next weekend we'll be in a lot better shape. But most trading and crypto sites stuff a ton of data in a very compact page, so it's very, very difficult to use these sites. And also, many exchanges, and not only crypto exchanges, centralized, decentralized, but also stock exchanges too, the developers, they don't pay a lot of time to focus on accessible sites. But the steps we've taken so far, we've reached out to two centralized exchanges, both Coinbase and FTX, see what they're doing in this realm. We're also looking at DEXs like Uni, which is Uniswap, and we're looking at some browser and software solutions to be able to kind of crack the code on this. So fingers crossed we'll come up with something, but give us another week and we'll get back to you. So next question, and this is the political one, but again, this is from Sob14, who always has brilliant questions. So here we are. Although COVID looked endemic, Omicron now looks like it could be the silver bullet of immunity. And if this is the case, how do you foresee the markets reacting? So this is a tough one, political one. So what I think could happen, and I'm extremely positive on the Omicron capabilities, and I know it's ripping through the world right now, but it should be done in about 3 to 6 weeks, they say. And very few are hospitalized. Death rate is a mere fraction of what the other strains had, so that's all positive, and it does give long-lasting immunity, apparently, from some initial studies out of South Africa. So if it is, there could be a huge backlash against the drug makers, first of all. Second of all, pre-existing economic conditions were exposed. And what I mean by that, it's not pre-existing conditions, pre-existing economic conditions. So we discovered how frail our global economy is, supply chains, etc., inflation risk. So that will help the markets prepare in the future. I do believe travel and tourism and services will explode. People start going out again, concerts, nightclubs, flying all over the place, staying in hotels, restaurants. It'll be gangbusters. Conferences will be jam-packed. There's so much pent-up demand to get out there. I think it's going to be crazy. I do believe the economy will come back, but it'll be different. What I mean by that is many jobs will never return, and the way we work will be different because we've gotten used to working virtually. So I know you hate Zoom, but some people prefer Zoom meetings than going into an office, believe it or not. And the world economy will be much more China-centric than ever before. And there will be a new normal. The world will always be on edge. I think there's some people that may walk around with masks on for the rest of their lives. Who knows? But all of the data points to this, but the markets will be very relieved to see this put behind us. And I think everything will grow. Instead of being much more product-based economy like it was over the last 20 months, it'll become much more service-based, which will help unemployment. It'll help everybody do better as we go forward. So nothing but goodness. Fingers crossed. It is, as you say, the silver bullet. And then we can just treat it like any normal cold. So all telltales, 90% of them point to a very positive end result. Fingers crossed. So next question is from Anonymous. When will Grayscale put their Sol Trust onto the open market so we can trade it like GBTC? So first of all, never ever buy something like this when it comes onto the market. Always do your math first. So my little quick punch list is, we don't know when it's coming, but never buy anything from Grayscale without understanding what you get. So currently, based on how it's structured, The amount of sol per share is 0.00996,103. They always do that kind of 1/10th or 1/100th of something. So the intrinsic value that's IV should be about $1.49 per share. If it does launch in the next few months, we'll see. But do your math very carefully using that formula. And also, the investors that bought at the end of November, and not much money has flown into it, actually. It's been a bit of a failure. I think investors are now wise to the GBTC investments, so it hasn't attracted as much money as other type of funds have, because, again, it's kind of a closed-end fund. People don't like it. The investor underwater, so they might wait for it to become positive before they launch it to the open market. That means the approximate price of Solana needs to be at about $198 to $205 approximately. So it's not going to happen before then. And typically, from the time of setup to the time of launch, the market is 6 months. So it would take us to May. End of April, May 2022. So I hope that helps. Next piece of good news. We have a new... well, all your super chats go to donating the Sanctuary for Penguins in New Zealand. And we have a new pet called Bitty, named after Bitcoin. Apparently there's another Bitty out there, but this one is named after Bitcoin. And this penguin lives in a colony. It's fledged with 18 other chicks and is super healthy and happy. And that's Bitty. So big thank you everybody for your donations. It's cool. We make a difference every single day. And with that, I'm going to take some questions, and I hope you like the content. And I hope you like Bitty too. And we'll be able to track Bitty's progress as well as we go forward. Thank you as well to the moderators and K8 harvesting all the questions. So, first question for Srinivas. What tools to use for crypto trades taxes? So there's... I'll drop a link in the description below later, but there's a crypto tax trader. It's the one that Rob from Digital Asset News uses. And I tend to do everything myself in a spreadsheet. But you can use that. I just don't want to integrate my exchange data, 8 exchanges, with an external source that I may or may not trust. But what you can also do is you can download all of your transaction history from your exchanges. And if you're any good with a Google Sheet or Excel spreadsheet, you can actually manage it pretty well yourself. But it does save some time using a system to do it. I just don't do it. I will, however, get the link from Rob, and I'll put it in the description below. I think he has a referral code for it as well. So I'll definitely share that with you. Kiwi Robin, there are more traders entering markets than ever before, most inexperienced and ill-informed. What effect does this have on price volatility? Yeah, I've been studying that myself over the last year. Like you can see, people are investing in these markets and they clearly have no clue. And they believe anything they are told. So it is a concern. And that's why you see things like Shiba Inu and Doge and a whole bunch of tokens with crap inflation and tokenomics and everything else. They're just fooled. I think my hope for 2022 is investors will get smarter and do much more due diligence, much more research into identifying the better assets. So one of my visions for this year is the crap will sink and the good stuff will go to the moon. So that's what I take. But again, every single chain has its weakness, even Bitcoin. But people will, I think people had a lot of learnings as well in 2021 when they saw, especially those that got in kind of April, May, June timeframe, got hurt, got out, and those people that got in again in, say, October, November, they're discovering some of the assets that they hold have gone nowhere but down, and now they're beginning to question their theses. And I think that will bring about a healthier market. So just like in the stock market, crypto market, all the money will go to the best assets. That's it. It's just mathematics. One Brightum. Very interested in your MicroStrategy leaps. In your opinion, what would be the best strike and time frame to do January 2023? Well, make sure you're out of short-term capital gains. So the January 2023 options expire on the 20th of January 2023. So we've got 4 days left to get in to be able to hold them for long-term capital gains. So watch that carefully. Second of all, the simple rule of thumb, before we examine very deeply, is if MicroStrategy is trading at 500, you want to try to get something that is half intrinsic value, half time value. So if a $400 strike is trading for $200, that would work. But that's a lot of money to spend. So this is where leaps don't work, because the volatility of the asset is so high. It means the options prices are very expensive. So what you could do is sell a put to fund it, but that uses margin. Or just buy the stock itself on margin too. That works as well. But when you have to pay $200 for something that's $100 in the money, you're better off just buying it on margin. That helps. Bug Duck Kiwi. I have Avalanche from $40. Unsure whether to sell and move to ETH Sol or let it run. Thoughts? I know you sold at 50 and moved to Sol due to inflation. Yeah, I don't like things. I think the inflation rate for Avalanche is 32.71%. I covered it yesterday and I remember numbers most of the time. But that concerns me. It is more than 3.3 times higher inflation. And therefore it takes, and some people got confused. If we look at the stock to flow, that whole thing will replenish its supply in a very short window of time. And that's what concerns me. Right now, it depends on your timing. Everything depends on timing. I think as ETH goes deflationary, it should really start to pump soon. We'll see. And Solana, that is very, very weak now. I know the Cardano market cap just eclipsed it again, which is interesting. So if Cardano is trading at these levels, that means Solana is extremely undervalued. And I know that's a very controversial thing I just said, but just look at the adoption. Look at the TVL. Look at the transactions. Look at everything. So we'll see. The market is just in a weird space right now. I also like Luna. I think everyone needs a little bit of Luna. And Fantom is a hedge, because Fantom is a very impressive project and growing like a weed, as I mentioned before. But it does have some negatives too. So Crypto Creed, could you please give me estimated amount that we need to spend per kid to raise and give better education in the USA? Whoa, well, that's a tough one. The cost to raise a child in the US for 18 years is at least $280,000. I think for those 18 years. That's for food, clothing, transport, schooling, etc. But as soon as you start getting into third level education in the USA, I mean, a good university will cost $40,000 to $50,000 a year. 4 years of that, plus housing and accommodation, it's a lot. So that's why I always tell my friends is just buy one Bitcoin per child. You know, if they're 5 or 8, 10 years of age, buy one Bitcoin, stick it away, and use that to fund their education. So crypto, I haven't checked the exact numbers. I ran these numbers about 6 months ago, and I remember it was about $280K. But the second child gets cheaper because you can reuse stuff and transport them together and things like that, and health insurance. Dental doesn't get cheaper with more kids, but there's some of the factors you need to take into account, and we'll see. But let me try to pull up some revised numbers for next week and share with you an idea. And I think as well, if your kids are young, like 10 years of age, 8 years from now, it may not be necessary to send them to university. They might be able to just go online or go to Sailors University and learn everything there. I do believe all jobs will become gig-type short-term jobs, and all education will be very point-driven, like doing a tiling class online or learning to change a faucet or learning Python programming language. Everything can be done online now, and they're the skills that we need to survive. Cryptolicious. Fastest horse now, Fantom, Algo, or Matic? Where would you drop 4K? I buy Fantom under $4. I have Algorand, don't buy any more. Matic, I don't buy at these levels either. I'm exiting out of Matic at these levels. So I don't know why I picked those three. But it's all about price for me, and price against the target and the likelihood that they'll double or triple. And as a result, they're not the ones. Like Algorand is focusing very much now on central bank digital currencies and helping economies. They're going much more commercial, kind of like an enterprise software company, than a true open blockchain. In terms of where I would drop 4K right now, ooh, tough question. That sounds like financial advice. which I don't give. But if I was investing, and if I had no Luna, no Solana, I'd think about those two very hard. I think they're game changers. Artem, can Cardano price go up next week because of Sunday swap? By the way, BNB went up because of Pancake swap. Or that time it was not the only reason for BNB. No, BNB had Pancake swap. Yes, that was a huge factor in it. And I believe Cardano's going up because of Sunday swap. But I'm reading some mixed supplies that there is a lot of congestion on it. I don't know if it's really ready for prime time, but we'll find out. But yeah, that's a big part of the pump right now. And I think Charles Hoskinson tweeted this morning a cartoon character who was yellow with a face melting. So Charles is super excited that Cardano went to $1.39. I wouldn't call that a face melting event myself. Going to $5, yeah, that's a face melting event. Going up 10, 15 cents. Not really. Anyway, so I think the way markets are working right now, they are factoring in stuff way ahead of time. It's not nearly becoming a buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing. And that could be it. So we'll monitor that carefully, and I'll update it during the week as well, see what I see. Mike C. Hit big on NFTs, hundreds of ETH. How to calculate if I can retire in 2023. 40-year-old single male. Nice one, sir. Hundreds of ETH. Well, first of all, take half of your gains in ETH, exit, stick it somewhere safer, just in case. Watch for your taxes. Apparently, the tax man in the US is coming after NFT gains big time. So watch for that too. I don't want to alarm you, but they know who you are, maybe. So check if you did any KYC process in all of your NFT transactions. Retire in 2023. Wait for a big pump. I think a big pump for ETH is due, just because it runs everything. I do think we could see $8,000 ETH. Do the math, find out how much you need, and make sure you have a castle. Buy something. If you made a lot of money, put it somewhere safe. Take a third of your assets, buy yourself a condo or a house, and that can never be taken away from you, unless of course you default or whatever. So that's what I kind of think about. And we'll see. And I hope 2022 is a good year. I know 2021 was very delayed, so 2022 should be good. But just remember, if you do make a big hit, always take some money off the table. Lock it somewhere safe. That would be my advice. Satwik Deshpande. Harmony One has done a 60x since I bought it. I don't want to sell yet, as I don't want to incur short-term capital gains. Do you see still some upside? Let me have a look at the chart on One. It's not one I own because the tokenomics are far from perfect, and I'm very picky with my tokenomics, so that sometimes excludes me. But let me see where I think we could go. Give me 1 second. One year. So we went from, turn off my things. Where we go from 2 cents to 33 cents. It's interesting now, is we're still under where we were back in October. It's kind of making a double top. The question is what it'll do next, if it'll break through or not. Right now, looking at the Bollinger Bands, it looks very overbought, which means it could be in line for a breather, despite the fact it's up another 0.01 cents today. Again, what I would always advise, if you've made a huge 60x gains, I know short-term capital gain tax are a real issue. Check how long you have before it turns long-term. If it is 12 weeks or less, wait. If it's more than 12 weeks, take some of your profits off the table and reallocate them. That's what I would say. MS, weekly close for BTC, importance to break September low? Yeah, I think it is important. It's important psychologically. It doesn't matter down to the price of Bitcoin, but people trade off of that. So the weekly, let's pop and find out where we need to be for the weekly to do good. Yeah. We are now, we need to go up like $600 to have a positive green candle for the weekly. And, the trend has been down since, what is that, middle of December or something like that. So we'll see. But I think psychologically it is important for investors. They need to see things turn around before they jump in. A lot of people wait. But I think we bounced extremely nicely off that 40K, 42K level. And that should give people a lot of positive insights, as well as all of the on-chain metrics are just so strong right now. And the adoption is coming. I mean, it's just nation states, sovereigns, banks, retail investors. It's just all coming in. So hold tight. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know how many hours we have left for the weekly close, but I will check, and I think it is important. All right, strike price for Amazon and Google from Invested. The strike, I don't know. I like round numbers because those strikes trade best. So when you're looking to exit or trade against, it's better to be in rounder numbers. So for Google, it'd be 2,500, 2,600. Amazon, 3,100. Maybe the 3,000s, maybe. But they were the strikes that I'm looking at. I'm actually looking at some Amazon strikes myself. I have not bought yet. But Amazon is a piece that I'm missing. I think that company is desperately undervalued. And thank you for your donation as well. Tuesday's Dragonfire, Dentrays, Mike S, Vissam Hamze, MT, Caligula, BD McGee, Meyer Cotro, Brandon L, A Bottle of Red, Cheryl De La Roche, DR, Glenn Johnson, Rory Moran, Subi, 9PT9, Snowfall, Elia Papel. Thank you so much, everybody. Happy Sunday. Get some rest and relaxation. We'll hit it hard Monday morning. Very, very soon. Bye, everybody. And big thank you to the moderators and K8.